Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Reinvent Money. I'll be hosting today with Paul Buitink. Yesterday, we had a great discussion with Ben Dyson and Dominic Frisby. We learned a lot about their ideas about monetary reform, and we particularly talked a lot about the positive money movement. Today, we'll be interviewing Emma Dawnay. Welcome, Emma.
Hi.
Hi. And Emma is from a related initiative in Switzerland, and we look very much forward to talking to you today.
Now I'm a board member of Modernisierung, which is the organisation, the NGO that is bringing the Swiss Sovereign Money Initiative.
Okay, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what this initiative is and what your relation is with Positive Money, who we spoke to yesterday. Maybe a bit of the history of it.
The two organisations developed completely independently. In Switzerland, Hans-Rudi Weber is the founder of the organisation, and he read the book written by James Robertson and Joseph Huber that had recently been translated into German. And he started this NGO, realising that Switzerland was in a unique position because of its direct democracy. So shall I explain a bit about how the system of direct democracy in Switzerland?
Absolutely, I think that would be very useful. Yeah.
Yeah. So what it is in Switzerland, there's a written constitution, and if 100,000 people sign up to a change in the constitution, there will be a national referendum, and that's what Hans-Rudi Weber realised, that Switzerland was in a special position because we could initiate this referendum. So first of all, he got together a small group of experts, mainly university professors, to write a new text for the constitution, which is written, and then we had a year and a half's time to collect these signatures. So we've all been out on the street and stopping people talking about monetary reform, which is quite interesting because it's quite a difficult topic to bring on a street corner in the rain and things, but you know, we've managed that, and so 100,000 people, actually over 110,000 people, have signed up to have this referendum, and the Swiss authorities have confirmed that they have the right number of signatures, so this will happen. It takes a while in Switzerland because it has to be discussed by the Federal Council and then by both houses of Parliament. So it's very likely to be in about 3 years' time, possibly only 1 year if everything is really quickly, possibly longer. So it takes a while.
And what exactly are the legal implications of? So in a lot of countries, referendums are sort of, sort of suggestions for something for the government to talk about. In the Netherlands, we have referendums, and I think their legal status is that politicians can ignore them if they like. So,
no,
that might be a bit of an extreme. Might be a bit extreme. But what exactly does it mean if the voters accept a proposal like yours in the referendum?
So what people have signed up to is a particular change in the text of the Constitution. And on the voting paper, there will be this proposed text for the change to the Constitution. If people vote in favour, it's not like a suggestion or a proposal or something. It will happen.
It will happen. Okay.
It will happen.
Doesn't the Constitution already read that it is up to the Swiss Confederation to create money? It says it's quite literally in the Constitution.
It does. However, with especially with sort of the electronic banking and things, and the banks always manage to give out book money, and then of course with electronic money this has become more and more, so that now 90% of the money in circulation is actually doesn't come from the Swiss National Bank. It comes from the banks when they make loans. So this is the same as what I know Ben Dyson was discussing yesterday. When somebody goes to the bank to get a loan, this money is created by the bank, and the person gets the loan, and the bank has the asset, which is the mortgage or whatever it is the person's borrowed the money for. And this is just the banks can create money supply.
Okay, so
and this is, yeah, it's you could read the Constitution and say, hang on a minute, but it should be the case that it's already not allowed, but clearly it's happening. So in this rewording of the Constitution, we make it absolutely clear that only the Swiss National Bank can bring in the money supply, and the banks would work as intermediaries.
What do you think the chances of success for your proposal are?
Because you guys have done a survey too, right? That supported your argument that people have no clue in Switzerland. Like already Ben Dyson said yesterday,
yes,
in the UK, not only the politicians but the people on the street. And in Switzerland, what's the percentage of people that think that banks just borrow and lend instead of create?
Oh dear, is it? I think was it 78% or something? So yeah, most people don't realise that the banks are bring the money into being. Most people believe that the Swiss National Bank at least has got something to do with it, which it hasn't. And the same survey had a very positive result. I think at the end of the survey, which was properly randomised with more than 1,000 people being asked, and at the end of the survey they were asked if they would vote for the Vollgeld for the Swiss Sovereign Money Initiative, and I believe 57% said yes. So that's.
But Switzerland is famous, of course, for its mountains, watches, but also its banks. It's in a way it's a banker nation, right? A lot of wealth is generated because of the banks you guys have, and also because of the power they have. And this would mean reduction of their powers. A lot of people depend on the banks, I guess, in Switzerland, or is that maybe just the elite and most commoners are not really profiting from that?
So people have said, that this is a sort of bad for our banking sector. However, Switzerland is also very famous for its wealth management. Well, if you've had brought in sovereign money, where you can't get a run on the bank, and you can't, you're unlikely to get such severe crashes. Well, actually, wouldn't a lot of more people want to bring their money into Switzerland? Wouldn't it be very good for the Swiss banking sector to have the most stable money supply that there is, which is actually legal tender? So there's an argument that actually it could benefit the banking sector. I'm just wondering, we haven't actually said in detail sort of what it is. Should we explain a bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah.
So the idea of this change to the Constitution is that only the Swiss National Bank can bring money into circulation, and they can do this by one of two methods. They can provide money to be spent into the economy, or they can lend banks money, so that they have quite a bit of flexibility. And the Swiss National Bank would have a mandate to operate in the interests of Switzerland as a whole. And it wouldn't be answerable to politicians, but if it didn't fulfill its mandate and obey the laws that come from the Constitution, then somebody could take it to court and complain that it's not doing its job. So the Swiss National Bank wouldn't have any say how the money is spent into the economy. That would be up to the politicians. They just say how much, and the politicians then can choose whether they want to lower people's taxes, or whether they want to spend it on public works, or whether they want to give it out as a citizen's dividend, whatever.
And
I should
how
say,
would the transition be let's say at some point there's D-Day when, or is it going to be a smooth transition in different stages, or are you
yeah, no,
guys
it would
planning
be,
for an overnight change in the
yeah,
system?
it would be an overnight transition, and then all of the money in people's bank accounts the next morning would be sovereign money, full legal tender. They could go on exactly as before. I mean, that's now, I think as a sort of Swiss citizen, you wouldn't notice any big change.
Yeah, and how do you
So
address privacy concerns with if people if all the cash becomes electronic, basically, would you
well, we're
do you
not
worry
saying all
about
the cash.
privacy?
We're not sort of saying we're not taking away coins and banknotes. That would continue as it is.
So the essence of what you want to do is, now we have electronic money, we have physical money. We think we treat them in society like they're exactly the same thing, but they're not really the same thing. What you want to do is you want to make them exactly the
Yeah.
same thing, and you can
Yes.
basically do this overnight. This is your
Yes. Yes. You don't have this idea that debt and money have to be the same and have to go up together.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. That sounds that's very important and actually quite interesting in a lot of different schools of thought. Even in the Austrian school of thought, where people are usually very much for currencies backed by hard assets, there is also a sense in which money is at least partly an asset rather than a debt, and I think that's a very very important idea.